Feature phones seem a thing of the past, but are they? Today, we won't be travelling back in time much. Believe it or not, but this waterproof, shockproof, frostproof and whatnot-proof mobile isn't a thing of the past. It was released just 8 months ago at the time of this video, or in December of 2021. World, meet the Kyocera Gs1 Type XX. I hope somebody in that branding department got fired. Hi everyone, and thank you so much for joining me on another episode of The Flip Side. My name's Christian, and today I'm going to cover the Kyocera Gs1 Type XX, which is as much of a mouthful as it is a handful. And here's why. The KYY31, the carrier's designation for the phone, is the successor of a long-standing and successful series of Gs1 phones. In the year 2000, KDDI AU released the C303 by Casio, and as you might have guessed by now, the phone is related to the highly successful G-Shock watch. So, what makes this phone so special? First off, the Type XX isn't exactly a new invention. Of course, like you just saw, the Gs1 series has in its 20 plus years of existence focused on rugged work on outdoor phones, and yes, flip phones. But of course, Casio and Kyocera haven't been the only ones. Nokia, Sonim, Cat, and many others have tried to fill this niche for some time now. The Gs1 series has always tried to balance the feature set and ruggedness to fit a fairly wide technologically advanced market, which Japan is. That also means, of course, that handsets tend to be a lot larger, heavier, feel quite solid in one's hand. And you might remember the Type X, which is the XX's predecessor, which I've covered on my channel before. This little gem can certainly take a beating, and comes with a huge and bright WVGA Plus screen, a 30 megapixel camera, and an NFC mobile wallet, amongst other multimedia features like OneSeg that other phones might leave out. So how do the Gs1 X and XX really differ? Well, here on the left we have the Casio built Type X, or also 10, and on the right we have the Kyocera built Type XX or 20. Why are those numbers? Because both phones are commemorative phones celebrating the launch of the Gs1 series in 2000. That implies that the X was released in 2010, and well, the Type XX or 20 was slightly delayed and was released in 2021. Now at this point it's worth mentioning that the Type XX is actually built by Kyocera and not Casio, unlike the previous models. And there's a bit of a backstory to this. Casio, NEC and Hitachi tried to stand up a joint venture in sort of 2012, I think it was, and didn't really work out. So they kind of left the mobile business, and Kyocera in the meantime had acquired Sanyo in 2008, and they have been producing phones ever since, both smartphones and feature phones. Now, all of that together, I think Casio and Kyocera working and collaborating to bring this commemorative phone to us in 2021 is pretty amazing, and I do hope that at some point we'll see more of these types of phones come back to life over the next couple of years. Now, in terms of the size of these phones, like I said, they're quite large. So here we have the Type X and Type 20 or XX, and both are around 11.5 to 12 centimeters in length. The width is around 5 centimeters, so that, and the depth, or sort of the height of the phone, is around 2.5 centimeters, which makes them quite chunky. They're also heavy at around 180 grams each. Both phones come with a wide VGA Plus screen, which is around 854 by 480 pixels, but the Type X comes with just 3.2 inches and the Type XX with 3.4. Neither of them are touchscreens. And in the camera department, we have 13 megapixels on both phones. Now, most importantly, what makes these phones rugged and outdoors phones first and foremost is the fact that they're waterproof, freeze-proof, shock-proof, low-pressure proof, and all these things. Both phones basically are identical in that sense and can be dropped and used outdoors and sort of, sprayed with water, submerged, salt water, and all that. One omission on the Type XX or the Type 20 here is the Felica symbol. So this phone, the Type XX, does not come with an NFC mobile wallet, which I don't fully understand why, but yeah, it's an omission that I think will hurt the sales of these phones quite significantly. So both phones meant for the outdoors naturally have these apps pre-installed, these services pre-installed, which are sort of related to weather, thermometer, barometer, all of that. You have a compass, of course. Not that any of it is groundbreaking, but I quite like the thermometer on both phones to be able to measure the temperature. One of the things you have to consider is body contact. When the phones are in your pocket, of course, the thermometer won't be accurate. So you need to leave it outside for quite some time before it will accurately read the temperature or outside temperature. Like I mentioned earlier, the Type XX is the successor to the Type X, or survivor rather. KDDI AU shut off its CDMA network in 2021, leaving the Type X without a network to connect to. Now, the Type XX is also able to connect to GSM, WCDMA 3G, and various LTE bands, and I've successfully roamed across Europe and the US with it. The phone is based on Android 10, but lower your expectations. Despite being Android, you can't really use it as a smartphone, as there are no Google services installed. The lack of a touchscreen also severely limits what can be done on it. It is possible, however, to sideload apps, and I'll set a link into the description for you. So this brings me to the end of the video, and I'd like to wholeheartedly say thank you for joining me today. Before I leave you though, one last thing about the Type XX. The phone is available to purchase. You can get it from Japan, but one thing, especially for people residing in the EU or Schengen countries, is that the phone is not CE certified, which means that it's not approved for the use in or within the EU and Schengen, and might be stopped or completely blocked and refused entry into a European market. Now, that has happened to me, and I have the approval from the Icelandic Communications Ombudsman here to have this phone in my collection. But yeah, I thought I'd need to let you guys know. Please don't go out and purchase it if you're not entirely sure that it's permitted in your market. So yeah, that really is just a small word of caution, but the phone is absolutely fantastic. I really enjoy it in my collection, and yeah, I'm happy that it's a future-proof phone that will be able to be used for a little bit longer. So thanks again, and please tune into the next episode soon.